7.62 by 39mm cartridge is one of my all-time favorites. The 7.62 by 39mm has been around since 1947 and has proven itself to be a light recoiling cartridge for offensive work, defensive work, and hunting medium-sized game. The bullet design includes FMJ, soft point, and hollow point, all of which cycle nicely through the SKS and AK-based rifles. When the SKS rifle arrived in the US of A, many a hunter converted the rifle for hunting deer in the South and other geographical locations. My introduction to the 7.62 by 39 cartridge began with an acquisition of a Chinese SKS or two. I have been hooked on the cartridge ever since. When fired through a semi-automatic firearm, like the SKS or AK-47, the recoil of the cartridge is very mild to the shoulder, while sharing similar ballistics to the venerable 30-30 cartridge. The light recoil is something very desirable to these old bones. After indulging myself with an American-made AK variant, I decided to take a leap and evaluate how the cartridge would perform through a bolt-action carbine. The CZ527 carbine was chosen as the test platform. The choice was simplified by the fact that the CZ was the only bolt-action firearm chambered for the 7.62 by 39mm cartridge at the time. While finding a suitable magnified optic was something of a challenge, I liked what I felt when firing the 7.62 by 39 cartridge through the CZ. I later produced an article on the CZ527, its attributes and foibles, and life continued. Then, Ruger produced the Ruger American Ranch rifle in 7.62 by 39mm, and which I thought was worth a look. Doing some research on the Ruger, and although I was not enthralled by the polymer-based stock, I felt that it would be worthy since all of the reviews that I read and viewed were positive. I hoped that my perception of shortcomings with the CZ527 would be mitigated with the Ruger, the same 7.62 by 39mm Church, but in a different pew. So, here I present a viewpoint of the Ruger American Ranch in 7.62 by 39mm. To begin with, I would like to talk about optics and get that out of the way. My aging eyes demand magnified optics. With the Ruger American Ranch and 7.62 by 39mm, however, a magnified optic is essential anyway, since the firearm does not have sights. I decided to mount a Sightmark Core HX 2 to 7 by 32mm Hog Hunter magnified optic on the Ruger American Ranch. Ruger provides a Weaver No. 46 rail on which to mount the rings and scope. That scope, however, was replaced with the UTG 3 to 12 by 44 30mm compact scope, a scope that I have mounted on several firearms, including an MSR and the Hi-Point 10mm carbine. The scope just worked for me. I just like everything about it. While the MSR 7.62 by 39mm is for general use, I wanted to be able to see a bit further and a bit more. The UTG 3 to 12 by 44 with adjustable objective affords me that. Both scopes weigh about the same, with the UTG being a little heavier. Ruger utilizes a flat dark earth synthetic stock, patent pending tower bedding, with integral bedding block system that positively locates the receiver and free floats the barrel for outstanding accuracy. Length of pole for the Ruger is 13.75 inches. A nice laminated stock, however, would really add something to the Ruger, in my opinion, and I may seek out one at a later time. Depending on the cost of such a stock, however, I may learn just to live with what I have, a working man's firearm. Whether bedding is actually needed on a short-barreled carbine like the Ruger is questionable. Even though the LOP of the Ruger Ranch is adequate, I installed a Pachmayr decelerator slip-on recoil pad just to provide a little more LOP for me. Unless absolutely necessary, I'll refrain from removing the action from the stock on the Ruger. There are 2 mounting screws for attaching the action. Each of the screws must be equally tightened to between 60 inch-pounds and 80 inch-pounds to properly bed the action. Left-handed shooters, like me, will not be able to grip the stock with the thumb wrapped over the tang and operate the bolt. I normally shoot with my shooting thumb alongside the stock anyway. With the Ruger American Ranch, thumb position is not an option. For a lefty, the thumb must be alongside the stock. For right-handed shooters, there is not an issue, as the shooting, cocking hand comes off the firearm anyway. The trigger on the Ruger is excellent. The Ruger American Ranch has a Ruger Marksman adjustable trigger that offers a crisp release with a pull weight that is user adjustable between 3 and 5 pounds, according to Ruger. I found the trigger acceptable and felt no need to adjust, although the Ruger's trigger is not yet broken in and is a bit gritty. The one-piece 3-lug bolt with a 70-degree throw provides ample scope clearance and utilizes a full diameter bolt body and dual cocking cams for smooth, easy cycling. The location of the safety selector on the Ruger American Ranch is located low on the tang and centered, which makes it easy to reach and operate for right and left-handed shooters. The safety selector is a 2-position affair, very similar to that found on Mossberg shotguns. To go off-safe, push the safety selector forward until the red F is exposed. To go safe, pull the safety selector rearward until the red F is covered. The Ruger American Ranch utilizes Ruger Mini 30 magazines. While the Ruger comes with one 5-round magazine, you can find 10-round, 20-round, and even 30-round magazines. But the 10-round magazines are somewhat scarce. 5, 10, and 20-round magazines are available through the Ruger website and through other distributors as well. For myself, I ordered 2 10-round magazines directly from Ruger, since the 10-round magazines are hard to find, and I prefer using a magazine from the manufacturer over third-party magazines in some cases. Ruger is one of those cases. I felt no need to invest in 20-round magazines for a bolt gun, and 10-round magazines makes the Ruger American Ranch less cumbersome than it would be with a larger capacity magazine. Ruger Mini 30 magazines work quite well, and hang-ups with the bolt were non-existent. I will say that I am not impressed with the follower on the Ruger 10-round magazines. The followers on both magazines that I ordered were hanging up when I tried to insert the first round into the magazine. It seems that the rear bottom edge of the follower was catching on the magazine body at the rear. A little deeper follower skirt would have prevented this. I may just work with the 5-round magazines in the future, as this one seems to work just fine and without the first round loading issue. The magazines for the Ruger are top loaders. You can load a Ruger Ranch 7.62x39 magazine with the bolt to the rear without removing the magazine. I will also say that in regard to the 10-round magazine, that the 10th round was a bear to insert until after the magazine was well broken in, and a fully loaded magazine is best inserted into the firearm with the bolt to the rear and safety lever on safe. I found it best as a left-handed shooter to hold the butt of the firearm against my waist with my left hand gripping the stock while my right hand did the dirty deed of removing and replacing the magazine. No speed loading with the Ruger Ranch, that's for sure. The Ranch magazine, being the same used in the Mini 30, prevents the bolt from being pushed forward after the last round. If you are not cognizant of how many rounds you have fired, not being able to push the bolt forward may confuse you. Being a left-handed shooter, I found no issues with attaching magazines. With the Ruger, the magazines are a tight fit when the firearm and magazines are new. It does take some work to get the Ruger magazine inserted, and just as much work to release them from the mag well. To remove the Ruger magazine, simply push the magazine lever to the front until an audible click is heard, which means that the locking latch has cleared the magazine lock. Then, grab the magazine and pull it downward. The longer magazines, like the 10-round magazine and above, are more easily extracted than the 5-round magazine that comes with the rifle, because they have more surface area to grasp. To insert the magazine, I found it best just to insert the front lip of the magazine into the well, rock it backhand up, and then press the magazine latch inward. Press the magazine all the way in. Albeit, you will have to slap the bottom of the magazine to fully seat it, bolt open or not, until it locks or clicks into place. The operation is similar to inserting an AK magazine, if you have had that experience, but with a lot less clearance to work with. The Ruger Mini 35-round magazine is somewhat easily disassembled for cleaning or replacing magazine parts. Magazine parts are readily available through Ruger and other online distributors. With all this said, I ordered 3 additional Ruger 5-round magazines because they seem to work smoothly in the firearm. The Ruger American Ranch carbine is, after all, a sporting firearm. If I need something for serious work, an AK-based firearm is available with larger magazine capacities. The Ruger American Ranch in 7.62 by 39mm is what I would call a utility carbine, because the 16.5-inch barrel hardly qualifies it as a rifle. The barrel is made from cold forged alloy steel in a matte black finish with a 1 in 10 right-hand twist rate, and incorporates a 5/8 by 24 threading with an end cap, which was removed to accommodate a flash hider that I ordered through Ruger. A noise suppressor could also be installed. The barrel found on the Ruger American Ranch is on par with the AK-47 barrel, that is approximately 16.3 inches. I foresee no loss in velocity, given that this is a bolt-action firearm and all gases go forward and are not diffused in any manner within the firearm, like that of a gas-operated semi-automatic firearm. In fact, there just might be a slight increase in bullet velocity. The Ruger did not seem to balk at all with any ammunition fed through it. While some may be a purist about it, the difference between a bullet diameter of .310 and .311 does not make for an issue with me. Ruger states that it will handle both with aplomb. So far, it seems that Ruger's statement is true. Golden Bear 7.62 by 39 123 grain bimetal hollow point with brass-plated steel cases were initially fed through the Ruger. Later, some Red Army Standard 122 grain was fed through it to ensure that it would handle steel-cased ammunition. Both fed, fired, extracted, and ejected without issue. The one thing that will impress you, as well as your shooting neighbors, is the amount of muzzle flash seen when shooting Russian ammunition out of a short-barreled bolt gun. In short, your world and that of others will be lit up. After the first range session, an A2 style muzzle device was ordered from Ruger and installed. In my final analysis, it really comes down to form versus function. The Ruger American Ranch 7.62 by 39 weighs in at 5.9 pounds without the scope. Add 1.45 pounds of scope, and we are only talking 7.35 pounds of firearm. What really matters, at least to me, is function. Here's where I lean in the direction of the Ruger American Ranch in 7.62 by 39. Granted that the trigger is not as good as that found on, say, the CZ527, or is the stock that pretty to look at, and that stubby barrel leaves a lot to be desired and makes the carbine look off balance. But the Ruger is a gosh darn good and functional firearm platform. As I mentioned previously, I shoot with the thumb of the shooting hand alongside the stock. For right-handed shooters, thumb position is not worth warranting discussion, as the hand is well clear of the tang as it operates the bolt. For left-handed shooters, such as I am, however, thumb position can make the difference between going home with a damaged thumb or not. If the left hand is gripping the stock in the usual position on the tang of the stock, the cocking piece of the bolt may contact the thumb as the bolt is operated to the rear, and this could cause some harsh words to be expelled from the mouth and possible blood to be expelled from the thumb. With the thumb of my shooting hand, my left hand, resting against the side of the stock, no injuries occur to the thumb, and I am saved from creating new curse words. At first, I was skeptical of the Ruger American Ranch in 7.62 by 39, but this firearm is growing on me. The more that I handle it, the more that I like it. The Ruger American Ranch, chambered for the 7.62 by 39mm cartridge, is a winner. While I love the beauty that only a woodstock rifle can bring, I must go with the Ruger American Ranch. From a working man's standpoint, having a bolt gun backup to my MSR-47, AK, and SKS rifles just seems the American thing to do. Well, that's it for this review, and I hope that you will join me for more gun and gear reviews in the future. Incidentally, I will be creating a video review specifically on the CZ527 and the trials and tribulations that I faced when scoping the darn thing at some time in the future. Until we meet again, be safe out there.